Bike lanes. They're a familiar sight on city streets, but a new report shows the city is still falling well short of a campaign promise and a benchmark laid out in city law to build hundreds of miles of new bike lanes. Investigative reporter Tim McNicholas first reported on this last year, and now he's following up.
Love them or hate them.
We need less bike lanes.
The more bike lanes, the better.
Bike lanes are a part of life and law in the 5 boroughs. Back when he was a city council member, current city transportation commissioner Ydanis Rodriguez co-sponsored legislation committing the city to build 250 miles of protected bike lanes by 2027, the kind with a barrier from car traffic. Public advocate Jamani Williams also sponsored that legislation.
They're actually not hitting the benchmarks, which is the law.
For 2024, that benchmark was 50 miles, but a new progress report shows 29 miles were built last year.
They've been underperforming for years, so it's not like just a one-year thing. It's a multiple years of not actually achieving what the law is meant to achieve. And quite frankly, it's making New Yorkers less safe.
Back in 2021, Mayor Eric Adams made a campaign promise to build 300 miles in his first 4 years, even more than the legislation calls for.
Protected bike lanes, that's crucial.
From what we've seen and understand this administration, it may be more that the agency itself is not as prioritized by the mayor. It's not as resourced by the mayor.
Last year, when CBS News New York asked the mayor about his 300-mile plan, he said it was still a desire. But for this story, the mayor's office deferred to the transportation department, which would not agree to an interview. The department has described the 87.5 miles of protected bike lanes installed in the last 3 years as an all-time high and a 10% increase from the final 3 years of the previous administration. And some drivers feel there are already more than enough bike lanes in the city.
The cyclists are going to the left or to the right, it's just a little too much.
That's not stopping the nonprofit Transportation Alternatives, which tracks bike lanes across the city, from calling on the Adams administration to meet the goals laid out in the law.
It happened right here?
Yeah.
Cyclist Julia Lichtblau is an activist with Transportation Alternatives who says she broke her collarbone in an accident in December on Henry Street near Warren in Brooklyn.
Would that have happened if there was a protected bike lane here?
Absolutely not, because the car and I would not have been in competition for the same place.
Well, geez, Tim, that leads to the question. I mean, is there really anything the mayor can do at this point to reach that benchmark?
Well, he'd have to build more than 210 miles of protected bike lanes this year to reach 300. But that new progress report from the city sets this year's goal once again at 50. The city also says they have upgraded about 20 miles of bike lanes over the last 3 years. Christine.
Okay. Still doesn't reach that magic number, though, does it?
Yep.
Tim, thank you for updating us on this story. If you have a story idea that you'd like to share with Tim and also with our investigative team, scan the QR code there on your screen.